ReliaQuest mental performance coach Derin McMains interviews top performers across multiple industries to unpack their mindset and their strategies that has helped them dominate in their arena so you can dominate in yours. Welcome to No Show Dogs, powered by ReliaQuest. Hey, welcome back to the No Show Dogs podcast, powered by ReliaQuest. I'm telling you, today we've got a special one. It's a special one. You're in for a treat. Not only do we have ReliaQuest founder and CEO Brian Murphy here as a co-host.
D-Mac, great to be with you. This is a big one. I'm not important. This one. This is big.
We've had this one circled for a while. Yeah, we're going to be chopping it up today with NFL Hall of Famer Derrick Brooks and NFL coaching legend Jon Gruden. Fellas, welcome to No Show Dogs.
Welcome. Thank you guys for having us here. Very rarely do we get a chance to sit down and talk to others about ball.
I usually live in a dark room. It's just nice to be out in the light.
Well, we're fired up to have you. Hey, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the Super Bowl winning season in 2002, 2003. The first season you guys had together, actually. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear both of your stories around this. But when you think back to that season, what's a behind-the-scenes story, maybe in the locker room, practice field, maybe even potentially in the film room, that most fans wouldn't know about, but you think it perfectly captures what made that team so special?
Well, I'll start, Coach. First, it was how Coach came to Tampa. We were an organization without a head coach for a while. We interviewed several, coaches, and all of a sudden, I get a call from my agent. Hey, I think Jon Gruden's going to be your guys' head coach. I said, what are you talking about? He's the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. What's we're hearing behind the scenes that a trade is going to happen. What? Whatever, Eugene. And I be damn. That morning, Rich McKay calls me about 6 a.m. Hey, could you make some time to come down to the facility here today to meet our new head coach, Jon Gruden? How did this happen? Long story, but all right, come down. So again, meet Coach. Coach comes in, and first thing he says, "Hey, we're going to win a Super Bowl." Not, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Jon Gruden." Is, "Hey, we're going to win a Super Bowl," and that was his attitude, and we saw it from the first day of practice. Where he's in a predominantly run drill. He runs a naked boot against us, challenging our defense like, hey, you guys think you've been good, but I'm going to force you to be great. And another behind-the-scenes story, guys, is people don't remember it wasn't an indoor facility back then. We never practiced, our first 3 weeks, Coach?
That's right.
We got rained out. No matter what time Coach tried to move practice, rain in the afternoon, okay, we're going to go out at 10. It rained. First 3 weeks. So we had to go in the old garage where the Outback offices are now and move cars for us to have practice so we didn't get rained on. We practiced in the garage for the first 3 weeks. We didn't get on our field of practice, and Coach said, no excuses, man. We had guys filming, from up high on the thing. Dodging the lightning. It was. But people don't realize that we got our work in, and that just kind of really set the stage for that season for us with a championship attitude.
Well, I just remember it was a whirlwind for me. I came in there by myself, couldn't bring any of my assistants, and the defensive staff all wanted to leave. They all wanted to go with Coach Dungy to Indianapolis, and I made them stay, and they were not real happy. But fortunately, I had a relationship with Monty Kiffin, and we had a heck of a defense. We had a great defensive team, but we didn't have a great team. The offense had a long way to go. So we added some players, but we did repeatedly declare war on the defense every day. I think it made our offense better. It made our offensive coaches better. And it made our defense better because every time we completed a pass, I would talk trash to these guys. And it was unbelievable. Mike Tomlin, we had an all-star staff, Rod Marinelli, Kiffin. We had some great coaches on offense, but I think we pushed each other. We challenged each other, and we started believing in each other. And as the offense got better down the stretch, we started playing football with a 2-score lead. And that's what really unlocked the greatness in our defense. Mm-hmm. Our defense was winning 12-10, 16-13. But when we started scoring points and these guys knew they were in command of the game, they cut it loose and they were awesome. But I really enjoyed every second of it. And seeing Brooks again, I want to get after his butt again. I want to think about it. It was a great pleasure to go out there with your script and really look at Simeon Rice and Sapp and Lynch and Barber and Brooks and say, man, if we can move the ball against these guys, we can move it against anybody.
Probably from the early working in a garage and then, challenging each other probably brought the team closer, I got to imagine. You guys built better relationships on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it did because, from a defensive standpoint, and particularly, the captain of that team, we finally saw accountability being through the entire team. I mean, Coach Gruden is putting it, very lightly. Man, he was on our offense every single day to make a play against us. And at the same time, defensively, he was studying us to make sure we button up. So if it was, Michael Vick, and Sapp tells this story way better than me, but Michael Vick had made some plays against us the year before, where Brad Johnson and Michael Vick, they're not total opposite,
totally
right, in terms of athleticism. But Brad would run these running plays that Mike ran against us, and we like, Coach, what the hell? This is not. He said, when you stop Michael Vick, you'll stop us. And we like, okay, all right, we got it. We understand. He was challenging us every single day, and for our offense, Coach wasn't letting them off the hook. Hey, you're not just going to lay down because the defense is dominating you. Get your butts back up. We're going to go at it. This strip is built for success against them. And, yeah, man, he let us have it. They completed a 5-10-yard pass against us, man. He was the biggest
I remember,
cheerleader.
too, Derrick. I remember watching all the tape. When you become a head coach of another team, the first thing you do is got to go watch your players. I got to study who we got on this team, who we need to keep, who we need to move on from, et cetera. So I knew we had a good defense because we had played them when I was coaching the Raiders.
Oh,
and I noticed, we beat the Bucs 45-0. And believe me, they heard that every day.
Every day.
They weren't in any of my Hall of Fame. I didn't have them in my Hall of Fame.
That film
Brooks,
was just playing.
I mean, hell, the only hustling they did was to the bus to get the hell out of there. But anyways, I noticed studying the tape, the effort, the details they played with, but they dropped a couple interceptions.
Yes.
They recovered some fumbles, and they just curled around the ball. I remember one interception, a guy caught it and was run 3 or 4 yards and started dancing with it. So I challenged him. Yes. I said, if you're that good, now we had a lot of our bank on defense too, some of our highest paid players. If you're that good on defense, why don't you score with the ball? Intercept it, run it back for a touchdown, get some blocks. I want 9 touchdowns. And I was challenging them. 9. So the funny thing is, with 13 seconds left in the Super Bowl, Dwight Smith picked off Rich Gann and took it back to the house. And Sapp grabbed me. I'll never forget. He said, "You wanted 9? That's 9." But, guys do respond. Great players, guys that have great character, they want to be challenged. They
100%.
want to be pushed. And those were the only buttons I pushed with the defense. And, man, did they deliver.
That's so good. I get fired up just listening to it, I'm like, in that Super Bowl, remind me, but I feel like there's 3 pick six in that Super Bowl. Is that right?
I know there's 2.
2?
Yeah. Brooks had
one of them sitting right
Dwight
here.
Smith had one,
3. Dwight Smith had 2, and I had the third.
Yeah,
we had 3. Okay, there was 3. Okay, yeah. I'm curious, Coach, when you showed up, what was it about Derrick that you saw right away that you appreciated most, that you knew he would be such a great extension of your coaching staff in the locker room?
Well, I had heard him speak at interviews after games. I had seen him just over the years, the character that he had, the leadership that he possessed. And then when I watched him play, the passion that he played with, every snap was like the last snap of his career. I just admired him. He's such a great talent, but the way he went about his business, it was a great role model for everybody, coaches and players, to follow. But one thing about Derrick, he was always really unselfish. Well, I'm just an average guy and an average guy. I told him,
golly, you brought that from Bobby Bowden.
I said,
Well,
hey, shut up, Derrick.
Right.
You're going to be the best player in the league. You're going to be the MVP of the league. Now unleash yourself. Come outside of yourself. Get outside of your body. Do more. And not that he ever became the most vocal guy, but his style of play.
Yeah, it changed.
It changed, you know. And I was, even though I didn't coach him, I was really proud of being a part of him becoming one of the greatest players to ever play the position. It was really cool to see it every day.
Wow, that's wild. I love it.
I'm glad Coach gave you the G-rated version.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm curious, what were some hard-earned lessons that you learned as a first-time head coach in Oakland that now going into Tampa, you were like, I'm not going to make that mistake again? I'm just curious.
Well, you have to know personnel. You know, it's not just the plays you call. It's not just how you practice the plays. It's who you're playing against. My very first game was against the Kansas City Chiefs on national TV. I'm working for Al Davis, and we're playing the Chiefs, and we had one player got 6 sacks against me. His name was Derrick Thomas. You know, I underestimated how to block some of these great pass rushers, especially in prime time. I never, ever underestimated anybody again when it came to protecting the passer. But you learn some cold, hard lessons on the airplane on the way home. You hear Al Davis saying, why did we hire this guy? He's an idiot. You know? But you really got you got to really get into the preparation of the game plan. It's not just the plays and the situational football. It's the personnel. It's the matchups and how you avoid catastrophes from happening before they do.
How do you handle that in the game? You know, and there are a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are founders, entrepreneurs in business, but they're looking for ways to. We find all the time, or I find as an entrepreneur, people want to, you know what, this isn't going well. Well, we're gonna really book it. How do we change that for next year? I'm like, guys, the quarter's right now. Like, we're in the middle of a game right now. We don't have till next quarter or next year, and like so. There's nothing to me more amazing and more that I just really respect and appreciate than the pressure of the 60 minutes and that shot clock that you have. And how do you think about those personnel and leadership decisions you make in game? Like, what were some of those moments in that season, or where you got in the locker room or even on the sideline, right? I don't think people quite appreciate how much of that happens.
Well, we got our butt kicked in the first game by New Orleans at home. I remember walking out to my car and Monty Kiffin's wife said, we gave up 2 first-round draft choices for you? Wow. Look, you got to have a mentally tough mindset. You got to have a thick skin. You got to believe in what you're doing. And you got to practice mental toughness during the week. You got to talk about how you love adversity.
Yeah.
I love the misery.
Yes.
I really wanted to show people, I'll show you what we got next week and the following week.
Yeah.
But I think people got to be challenged and reminded every day about how important mental toughness is. And nothing is going to be easy. And that goes in business. That goes in every facet of life. But you got to really welcome the hard times. Yep. That's what really shows what a great football team you are, what kind of a great teammate you are. And that's what we had going that year.
You know, we just take our environment that we worked in. That became our calling card, you know, the woodshed. Yeah, get excited about lifting these rusted weights out here on this carport. Mm-hmm. You know, who cares that the locker room is, you can't even, you know, it was our team room, our cafeteria, our meeting room.
It was versatile.
It was versatile. You know, look at the versatility of it versus this uncomfortable situation. And Coach had a unique way of setting that tone for us, you know, every single day. Hey, who cares about these airplanes flying over you? Guess what? Who's going to be more prepared for crowd noise than us? Why? Because we got airplanes landing and taking off right next to us. So we treated it as crowd noise. We didn't have to pipe in no music. So it was just a shift in the mindset in the situation. Like he said, embrace the woodshed. All these new facilities that these other teams have, how could they come and function in this environment? They can't, but we can. So bring them into our environment and make them miserable, because we're going to excel in miserable situations where we don't see misery. We see opportunity, where they're focused on the environment and we focus on kicking their butt. So that's how Coach got to, just framed it to us.
We had a mindset. We called it pounding the rock, and everybody thinks that's running the football. Well, really, Rod Marinelli, our D-line coach, came up with it. The rock is the opponent.
Yep.
So we had a big rock in our locker room. Mm-hmm. We carried that rock with us on the airplane when we traveled. That was the first thing we unpacked. But the speech was this, Brian, if you pound that rock ain't going to crack. And if you and Derrick pound the rock, it ain't going to crack. That opponent won't crack unless we all pound the rock.
I love that.
On special teams, first down, third down, pound the rock.
Yep.
When in doubt, what are we going to do? We're going to pound the rock. And if we do that, we will bust this rock open. And that's what we did. We just kept pounding the rock. We won some ugly games early, but the rock cracked. And we also smashed the rock early in some games, which was a little bit more fun. But I encourage everybody, if you're not going to pound a rock, go join another team. Yep. You're not going to make it here.
Yep.
And we're going to move on from you.
Yep.
We're all just nothing but rock pounders.
Yep.
And I think that's a mindset you got to continue to believe in.
You got to show people and be willing to do hard things. That's where that in business, anything, it's the hard stuff that makes it. The easy stuff anybody can do, but when it gets brutal, do you show up?
Yeah, and Brian, you talked about in-game situations in business. Staying the course and embracing the hard things. One of my most favorite plays of that season, probably, is a play that doesn't get a lot of fanfare. Very few people remember, and I hope, Coach, you do. We were playing at Carolina that year, and Carolina was a tough team for us. Julius Peppers, Chris Jenkins, that D-line, man, boy, they were tough. Mike Rucker. They were a tough team. Rob Johnson's our starting quarterback, Brad Hurt. We're tied 9-9. We're going down. Last drive of the game, probably 30, 40 seconds left in the game. Rob Johnson gets hit and comes to the sideline. It's 4th and 5. We got to go for it because Martin needs 5 more yards to kick a 57-yard field goal. He wasn't comfortable at that stadium with 60. It was, high 50s. Sean King runs in, grabs as Rob's coming off the field. We have no timeouts left. Sean King grabs Rob's helmet, throws it on, runs into the game. Little did we know, I think it was Keenan McCardle got hurt on the same play. Keenan is coming off the field. Carl the Truth Williams, our returner back a receiver, sees Keenan. They run on the field. Coach calls a 5-yard out. I'm thinking he's throwing it to Keenan. Sean sees it, 5-yard out. Spiral, no warm-up, no nothing. Hit Carl Williams out of bounds on their sideline. Field goal teams run in. We kick the 58-yard field goal to win that game, 12-9. That, to me, when we won that game, that was the first that season, because probably like week 10, I said, we got something special. I can't wait to see Philly. That was my mind. We got something special. I can't wait to see Philly. We just won a game with our third-string quarterback grabbing a helmet, running in, spiral on the out. Martin kicks a 58-yard field goal.
No timeout. No,
none.
And they're just paying attention. They're in the moment, right? They're paying attention.
When Coach said pound the rock, that's the mentality. Everybody in tune and waiting on their turn to put the hammer in their hand to swing. And those two did that. Each one only had one play of offense that game.
Wow.
Yeah, but we did a lot of funny stuff. We took a lot of pride in the simplest things. Effort. We were an effort-based program. Everywhere I've gone, I've always taken pride in that. Frank Broyles, the old coach at Arkansas, taught me that a long time ago. He said, what you see on film is what you coach. And we practice effort. Our defense would go out there and have these pursuit drills. No offense. Just Monty Kiffin, 60-year-old man, dropping back the pass, pointing that way, and these guys would go flying to the far cone. And if they weren't all flying as hard as they could, they had to go back and do it again. And that might be a 7 or 8 minute period, but when you turned our film on, some of the greatest plays we made had nothing to do with the defense we called. It was just guys getting off blocks and savagely, running to the ball, hustling. Mm-hmm. Simeon Rice made 3 or 4 of the best effort plays I've ever seen a defensive lineman make. And he was trained that way. His mind, his daily routine was, this is how I start my day, this is how I end my day. And like I said, when we started getting 2-score leads, it was an awesome thing to watch.
That's amazing. I say effort's the great equalizer. Talent, it doesn't matter. But when you line up, one of those things, you're either going to step off the treadmill first or I'm going to die on the treadmill. And that's what, we're going to keep going.
Yes, well, you're an embodiment of that, man. I mean, I know
in different ways. In different ways.
But everyone can appreciate your story in building this company, man.
I appreciate that. It's fun, though. The hard things are the most fun. When I look at our team, we've had some people that have been here since the beginning, and I've been doing this 17 years now, but when I think about the hardest times are the things we get together and laugh about now, just like you guys are doing. And I'm sitting here thinking, when we get together with a team, we're joking about the stuff that didn't go right. Like, people like to tell the stories about the perfectly orchestrated sale or the perfectly delivered technology. The fun stuff is when oil is shooting out of every part of the software you're building. It's not working. You got duct tape out. You're on the way to present it. Somebody forgot their suit. The airline flight's canceled, and then you win anyway. Like, that's when you see people show up and they say, hey, I'm selling out to this right now. I'm going to do whatever it takes in this moment. And those are the memories. That's how people get close.
Yes.
I think one of the things that we did a good job of, to your point, is contingency planning was more important than planning itself.
Love that.
Something's going to happen in the game where your backup quarterback has to come in the game. Your headgear is going to come off. The backup linebacker's got to go out there. It's going to start raining. There's going to be something that happens that's unforecasted, unpredicted. We'd go out and practice, and on play number 4, we had a receiver named Joey Galloway. I told Monty Kiffin, I said, I want you to play one plug here, play man-to-man, because I want to throw the ball to Galloway over everybody's head. And Joey would run for a touchdown, and all the defense would say, you're scripting for success, Gruden. I said, you guys play one plug. What are you going to do, give up a touchdown every time? So then play 7, I'd get Galloway on a deep cross. Play 14, I'd get him on a double move. But what happened is our defense started learning how to play. It didn't matter what coverage we played. They started to understand, okay, there is a weakness in every coverage. And now if we take away, start thinking with that, if they call the right play against the right coverage, we got to eliminate the damage. We got to stay on top of this guy.
Yeah.
But my point is, with companies, with every phase of football throughout my life, the great teams do a great job of contingency planning. They're ready to switch gears and adjust. But if you're one-dimensional and you're not working at it and you're not creative and you're not thinking that you're going to get a curveball when you're thinking fastball, you're whistling zippity-doo-dah.
Well, Coach, you gotta share this. I want you to tell it. You talk about contingency planning, and some of the best contingency plans when, everyone knows how, I felt by playing Philly, and I felt we was going back. And your Saturday night speech, when you basically, I pre-threw it, you could tell it how you came up with it, but night before the NFC Championship in Philly, Coach comes in and, we ready for a good one. And he said, you know what? We're down 7-0 right now. Put that on me. I'm going to do something stupid. I'm going to call the wrong play, interception. It don't even matter. We're down 7-0 right now. Put that on me. Now let's go out there tomorrow and kick their ass.
Really?
That was it. It was like.
And then the opening kickoff, Brian Mitchell takes it back 96 yards. I said, I told you. But we got the ball back, and we went with a no-huddle offense.
Yes.
We went down there and got a field goal.
Yeah, that was it.
And at least we punched back. And that was the first time I think we scored a point in Veterans Stadium since 1958. So all of a sudden, hey, we're moving the ball.
Yeah.
And then we get the big play for Jervis. Here's at a timeout. We go for a 70-yard jerk route that's just like the greatest moment in my life. But, you got to have a little reverse psychology.
That was.
Brian, hey, you're doing a great job. You're doing a heck of a job. You've done a wonderful job. Well, right now you can do better, Brian.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, using a little reverse psychology sometimes is a good remedy. Even on the golf course, I tell my partner, this is an impossible putt. You can't make this putt. That's what he makes them.
Exactly right.
But that was beautiful. We was ready. Hey, we're down 7-0. I'm going to do something. It's like, what the? Now let's go out here tomorrow. And then the kickoff comes back.
Unbelievable.
Hey, I told you. So
We were in Veterans Stadium the day before. We had a walkthrough, and I coached for the Eagles for 3 years, and the fans are brutal. They'd be yelling at me, "Hey, Gruden, turn around, Gruden." They would be on my case. So I knew it was going to be a crazy atmosphere. This is for the right to go to the Super Bowl. This is the last game in Veterans Stadium. I mean, people are drunk 2 days before the game. So I said, let me tell you what it's going to be like. I had all the players around me right on the 50-yard line. I said, start calling me names. See if it bothers me.
Right.
So I'm not going to tell you what Keyshawn called me. It's pretty harsh.
He kept going.
I had everybody start chiming in, call me the worst names, just make me feel horrible. Come on, bring it on. And guys were dogging me out. But you know what? We come out of the locker room the next day, and we're standing right underneath that tunnel, and these Philly fans are leaning over there calling you the worst things. And I saw John Lynch going, this is awesome. It's just like we talked about. You know, we fell behind 7-0. We just showcased our poise, but yeah, that was a great memory, man.
Oh, Cole, that was it, man. And to see that stadium that quiet, man, Rondé's play. Oh, and then the NFL showed us a lot of respect back then too. We're the only team still. We opened winning Super Bowl team. We opened the following year on the road.
Oh man,
against Philly.
Well, we had to play the Super Bowl in San Diego the next week.
Yes, last time that happened.
So it's always been 2 weeks. So we got to go from Tampa, Florida to San Diego to play the Super Bowl in a short week, really, for us. So I flew the players out by themselves. And the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, let us use his jet to fly the coaches out the next day, so we didn't miss the media.
Well, Simeon Rice was our head coach for 1 day.
He was a chaperone, yeah.
Simeon Rice.
Coach he said Simeon signed Simeon to a 1-day contract as our head coach. So while we was out there.
I love it. No Show Dogs is brought to you by ReliaQuest, the global leader in AI cybersecurity. ReliaQuest helps enterprise cybersecurity teams contain threats in minutes with its agentic AI security operations platform, Gray Matter. ReliaQuest makes security possible for the most trusted enterprise brands in the world. Learn more at ReliaQuest.com. Coach, I'm wondering, and Derrick, this is for you too, when you think about players that struggle in one organization and then they go to a new organization and they're like a new guy, a new player. I mean, most obvious would be right here in Tampa, Baker Mayfield, right? But it seems like Daniel Jones, I mean, it's early in this year, but he looks like a brand new guy in Indianapolis. I'm just curious, what happens? What's the difference between, whether it's coaching, leadership, environment, culture? Like, what is it that a player looks done over here, and then they show up somewhere else, and you're like, wow, they just unlocked a whole bunch in that. Like, what have you guys seen?
Well, from the player standpoint, in team when guys, came here, it was important. For me as a captain to make sure they were welcome. And I just think that's the culture, started when I got here, learning from Hardy Nickerson and waiting my turn, to take over the leadership of the team. It was that. I wanted this to make sure, hey, man, we got a championship attitude here. That's our culture, and we're going to embrace it. That's what it was. No matter what situation it was, before you got here, hey, this is how we do things, and you have a role here, and you're going to play that role. I mean, Lomas Brown, Hall of Fame left tackle, came here for 1 year, 17-year starter, Detroit Lions. I mean, one of the best, should be in the Hall of Fame. He came here, and all he did was protect field goals and give us looks on defense. But he took great pride in that. But people don't know the culture away from the game. He was there behind the scenes with Coach, helping coach our young O-linemen, and brought him in here for that role and did a hell of a job with that with our young O-line at the time. But he embraced that, coming here. So it wasn't about him succeeding on the field. He'd already done that, blocking for Barry Sanders all those years. But coming here, we never had that leadership role on our offensive line. And Coach realized that was a need, brought it in, serviced it. Was able to help manage through Keyshawn's ego. Keyshawn understanding, hey, coming here, I'm not going to get, 110 catches. This is a defense-built team, but embrace the role. Brad Johnson, all the successes that he had, but coming here was his most fun time because he was able to showcase a skill set here that we needed to win a championship. And Brad, man, you talking about embracing that and seeing that success. Michael Pittman, I can go down the line, coming here from Arizona and embracing the versatility role that Coach, had for him versus being a feature back. Thomas Jones, same thing, revitalizing, their careers here. So it's, to me, D-Mac, is about me as a player making sure that they feel comfortable but succeed in the role that we're asking you to play in order for the team to be best. So that's how I would say from a player perspective.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to be reinvented. I think in all phases of life. But when we got Brett Favre in Green Bay from Atlanta, people thought we were nuts. When we got Rich Gannon at age 34 in Oakland to be our quarterback, you're crazy. We got Darren Waller to be our tight end in Oakland off the Ravens practice squad. I think what has to happen is you got to believe in somebody. You got to get your coaching staff and everybody in the building saying, hey, we're going to make this guy be successful. And when he comes in here, we're going out of our way to make him successful. And now the player has to buy in and do the work. But at the same time, you got to take great pride in that. If you're welcoming a player onto your team, if you're making that decision to bring him here, we're all in on making this guy successful. Now, we're not going to try too hard to save a bad idea. If we don't see progress and development, we're going to admit that we made a mistake and move on because this is a short-term business. But when we make a commitment to make this guy play for us, we're all in. I remember Mike Holmgren when we got Brett Favre. He had everybody in the Packer building there. We are making this guy successful. I don't want to hear about why he's not successful right now. I don't want to hear about his past. We're starting right now. Everybody get on board. So you see a lot of places where the defensive coach doesn't like the quarterback. The owner doesn't like the quarterback. The media's out on a quarterback. The head coach isn't calling the plays. He's not controlling the situation. Baker Mayfield got in a perfect situation at the perfect time. He's mentally tough, and it takes both sides to tango. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah,
but you gotta really take interest and pride in all your students and trying to help them all get every answer right.
Yep. And then they need to buy in.
That's right.
And I think it's an important point you made of coaches maybe disagreeing how the decision, but once that decision is made, so we may debate it, but once we make this decision, we walk out this room, we want 100% buy-in.
I think you and I are having a meeting. I say, Brian, I'm gonna be working for you hard.
Yeah.
And you're gonna work for me hard.
Yep.
While you're sleeping and resting, we're gonna be in here doing the best we can to get the best possible drills and practice schedules and game plans for you. But you got to put the work in too. Now, we got to be in this together. And if you get that buy-in, you got a chance to reinvent some people.
But the honesty in that and the transparency in that and I'll take clips, and D-Mac knows this, I'll take clips of Hard Knocks. And I love the last episode of the season when the GM and the coach has to look somebody in the eyes that their whole goal and their whole dream is to play on this team and tell them you didn't make it, here's why. And you can do that in a very transparent and respectful way. But the directness of that, I think, could be used in more places. And just that open transparency of, I need you to do this. Okay, well, I need this. Well, let's go do it together. Doesn't happen enough. Definitely doesn't happen enough in corporate America. And we try to use a lot of those things because, hey, we got to win. We leave this building, we got to win together. So let's talk about the things that each one of our weaknesses that are going to cause us to lose. Let's get on the table now, and I'll help you and you help me.
We had this saying, it's called feedback. I would grade every play the quarterback took. I would grade three things. I would grade his feet, the decision, and the throw. Every play, whether it was a running play or a passing play, grade the feet, the decision, and the throw. So when I got fired from coaching, I went to do Monday Night Football, and I told the director of Monday Night Football, I said, I need feedback. I need you to tell me what I screwed up and what you thought was pretty good. And he gave me, we called it the Gannon notes. And after every game, he would send me notes of what he thought I didn't do very well or things he thought I did well. The point I'm making is without feedback, you got no chance. Now everybody's going their own different directions, and everybody's afraid to say, hey, that ain't good enough.
Yeah.
I think you got to let your people know, I'm going to give you feedback, and I want you to want feedback to get better. And it's constructive criticism, but it's at the same time professional criticism. And if we don't make the corrections, we're not getting better. So I think you got to get people to really welcome your critique of them so we can all be on the same page and improve.
Yeah, well said. Totally agree.
Yeah. That's the one thing I want to ask about is Gruden's grinders.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why I want to ask about this, and I'm going to have you just explain it first for our listeners that maybe aren't familiar with it, but our No Show Dogs podcast is around the same idea. Like, we want hunting dogs, not show dogs. And so I'm curious, just share with our audience, what is a Gruden grinder and why does it mean so much to you?
Well, the Gruden grinders are guys that are behind the scenes. They don't get the credit. They're teamwork guys. They're team-oriented people. They're clutch. They're consistent. They're versatile. They're smart. They're mentally tough. But they don't get the ink. They don't get the glory. We win the Super Bowl. We got all these Hall of Famers. We go and we celebrate our Hall of Famers every single day. There's Derrick Brooks. Look at him. There's John Lynch. Here's Rondé. You know what? We don't win that Super Bowl without Greg Spires and Chuck Darby.
Yep.
You know, these guys, no one knows they're alive anymore. But without these two players, we don't win the Super Bowl without Brad Johnson. I promise you that. There ain't nothing flying in Tampa without Brad Johnson. So, you know, these guys, they put forth a lot of work. They took a lot of bullets. They got beat up. They got hit. They never got the glory. So I try to recognize every week 5 or 6 guys that are really playing good, hard-nosed football that I've never seen their name in a headline. You know what I mean? And I think those people need to be celebrated. Teachers, you know, preachers, doctors, policemen, guys that are everyday grinders. I'm sure you got a bunch working for you.
A ton, yeah.
So you tell Gruden's going to give them a celebrate, give them a sticker for their sport coat or something, you know?
Well, and I've heard Derrick talk about it. You always made sure the front receptionist, you knew everybody.
Yes.
You always said hello, everybody, because that was the face of the organization. When a new recruit or a new person or a new sponsor or whatever came through there, and it's appreciating every step of the way. Like it's a team sport.
Yes, Miss Bernice and Miss Jill Hobbs. I'd never forget them. And I told her that once. I said, you know, you're responsible for me making that big play last week. And she said, Derrick, how did I didn't do anything but make sure y'all had all y'all beverages. I said, no, because when the coach called and wanted to speak to Monty Kiffin, you the first person that he spoke to give a tip because they just played us. And if you had a bad attitude or if you wasn't on top of your game and missed this phone call or didn't get that message to Monty, who got it to Joe Barry, who got it to me, I wouldn't have been able to make that play. So that's how much important you are to every time you see me on that field, you receive a phone call, you're part of this, Miss Bernice. Oh, thank you, Derrick. You're so nice. But I still didn't get out there and make that tackle. I say, well, at least you know I appreciate you. So again, to Coach's point, man, we appreciate those grinders in the scene because as a captain, those are the guys that set the foundation that we all stand on, and they need to know that. So as I said, part of me. You know, and again, Coach opened my eyes to this when he challenged me. He said, "Hey, Derrick, get outside yourself." He's like, everybody knows you're humble. You know, everybody know nobody's going to question that. You know, your Brooks bunch, everybody know you love the kids. But I need you to go out in that field. I need you to lead this team and go out there and say, you know what, I'm the best in the business, and who gives or you know what, who cares.
How uncomfortable was that for you early on?
It was, but Coach knew that. He knew that was going to, like, if I need this team to go, I need him to get there and do that. And he did it by practice, man. He would attack me in practice to get a response out of me.
I sure did.
He did.
The more I hear him talk, I want to go out in the grass right now.
So he had it was a method to his madness because him just saying that he knew I would just go, but no. And that's why I say my game changed. Man, he would attack me in practice, and the same thing, I get up on the field playing Marshall Faulk, I get up, I'd say something, I'm going to be here all day. He literally saw my game change, but he had to bring it out of me by attacking me in practice. Like any little thing, like it's one thing to say, you know, with coaches, that you didn't do a good job. Like, hey, we need more out of you. You got, 10 tackles, you could have made 15. Most coaches will do it, yeah, coach, but I know what you're trying to do. But not with coach. Not with Coach Gruden. No. It was not only did you not make 15 tackles, but you didn't do this, you didn't do that. The coffee is not hot enough because you – but he was systematically, do stuff. And he know I would take a sense of pride in what he was doing. Like, okay, I'll respond. I got him. I got you. And he'd be looking right at me, too.
I remember we were practicing in Orlando at the Wide World of Sports, and a lot of the college basketball coaches would be down there. So big-time college basketball coaches would come and watch us practice. And I remember a couple of them commenting about our practices. We believed that the simple execution was more important than anything. That's what led to sophisticated execution. So our first periods right after stretch were individual. And every coach, I made sure every coach on our staff, we weren't lollygagging around. These were everyday drills, might be coming off the ball, whatever it may be. But the simple things that we did led to the big things. And I think now what happens is we're so sophisticated in life. We don't need to handshake anymore. We don't need to look at people in the eye and talk to them. There's simple, common life lessons that we've gotten away from a little bit, and I think it's affecting football, basketball, all kinds of life. So I think we got to get back to the basic fundamentals of being excited, being fundamentally sound, and it leads to the high levels of execution.
The best companies, the best teams, the best individuals do the simple things savagely well.
And it's hard, It's hard a lot.
Simple is seldom easy. It's simple to understand, hard to do consistently. Yeah.
But if you're a good leader, I think you can mix up your drill and get the same thing done a different way. We were going to run 22Z in every game plan, but it was going to be 14 different ways. But we did it to stimulate the players, keep them interested, keep them excited, and it's a great, I think, thing to talk about with your team.
How did you know? You knew you could challenge Derrick. You knew he would internalize that, and you were pushing himself beyond what the outside world already thought he was the greatest. But you knew he was capable more. So don't push yourself to a new capability. Were there players you knew you couldn't push?
Well, there's some you're careful.
Yeah.
You tread water a little bit. But when you watch every great team or great business, the highest paid players are the best players. You very rarely go watch a championship team where their quarterback or their head coach or their star linebacker are not hardworking people.
Yeah.
I went and watched the Seattle Seahawks after they won the Super Bowl. I was doing Monday Night Football, and I was amazed at how hard that defense worked. Earl Thomas. I couldn't believe Bobby Wagner. These are young players at the time. They're both in the Hall of Fame. They're going to be in the Hall of Fame. But Marshawn Lynch, these guys didn't just lollygag around, man. They're there before and after practice. Then I'm hearing stories of Tom Brady. I get to go all these teams and watch these guys, and it's no coincidence. There's a big difference between good and great. Derrick was a really good linebacker, but to become great and the very best of all time, you got to get uncomfortable, man.
Yeah.
And you got to get the guy next to you to play better. And you got to get the guy in front of you to play it better. And if they don't play better, I'm going to be on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of how the daily routine went, But
and high performers want that, right? They want
think
that.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. And they challenged me too now. Yeah. There were some games we'd be walking back to the bus. Are you going to make a first down today, Gruden? What the hell you doing? But, we used to take punches, but to encourage and challenge each other, I think you got to have that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
No doubt. I know we're getting towards the end of it, but I got to ask, because you just mentioned I want to get back out in the grass, right? So I think it begs the question, football is better when Jon Gruden's on the sideline. You have a presence. They're just coaches in whatever sport where your eyes go right to the sideline because that coach has that kind of presence, right? In basketball and baseball, you go to the dugout. In football, you're that guy in a football game. And so I'm just curious, when are we going to see you back out in the grass coaching again?
Well, I'm going to coach the Hula Bowl All-Star game.
Let's go.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
Coach that
Start
game.
there.
And I'm talking to a few teams, being honest with you. I'm still
That's cool.
doing a lot of coaching behind the scenes. I still have a lot of players and coaches that come to my office, and I go visit them, collaborate on football. I study football all the time. I'm ready to go. If anybody out there has a job, I'll give you my phone number. I won't email you, but I'll give you my phone number.
Thank you for that. I love it. Well, one question that we always end every podcast with is the same one. It's all around the idea and the spirit of No Show Dogs. Derrick was on No Show Dogs a couple years ago, and I'll just read your response to this final question. So the question is, I'm going to ask you in just a moment, is what do you think have been some of the things that you've been willing to do that probably others haven't, that has helped you have the success you've had in your career? I'll tell you how Derrick responded to that a couple years ago. He said for him, he's always kept the proper perspective of whatever platform God's allowed him to be a part of and keep the proper perspective on how to best serve others, which has allowed him to stay poised in the noise. Poised in the noise. Love that. So with that being said, Coach, asking you, what are some of the things that you think you've been willing to do that others haven't that has helped you have the success you've had?
That's a great response by you, kid. Very good. I think my thing is I have been able to get on a routine. And I think if I could advise anybody that wants to be in coaching, I think you got to get on a routine. I think you got to be on a mission, okay, to accumulate knowledge. Knowledge equals power. And the accumulation of knowledge is a powerful thing. So is the accumulation of nothing. But you got to get on a routine. Mine has become a early morning routine where I can get up early and I can get after it. And if I need to push it, I can get a lot done. But I go to bed early. I get up early. I have a routine on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way up to the end of the week. But I think that's really important. You know, you're not just flying around. You have a very calculated way of looking at your week.
It's fantastic. We just had that conversation last night.
That's it.
Text thread.
Absolutely. That's
about
exactly right.
Yeah.
We're just
And his other routine is Coach, his office is always dark. I always wondered, like, why you always have your office dark?
You moved to Tampa, Florida, and it's so beautiful outside. You know, I used to hate it. I'd be sitting in my office, and the sun would be coming into my office, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, gosh, there's a beach right over there. I don't know what, the fish are biting today, and golf courses everywhere, but just shut the lights off. I remember Rick Pitino walked in one day. He was visiting Tampa. He goes, are you in here? You know, what the hell's wrong with you? But I like it cold. I like it dark. I like it quiet. And that's just me. That's my routine.
Oh, we have about 300 engineers downstairs that agree with you. It's dark and cold down there, and they like the lights off. I'm always walking around. I can't see anything. So, yeah.
You know what, though? I'll leave you with this last story. Mike Holmgren was the coach of the Packers. He hired a lot of young coaches. Steve Mariucci, Andy Reid, and myself were three of the guys that were on the left wing of the wall there. And Holmgren would get out of his office, and the men's restroom was down that hall. And he would walk down that hall. He's about 6'6". He'd look in every one of our offices. He wouldn't even say hi half the time. A lot of pressure on a new head coach, right? He's walking around. He's looking in there. And then looking in there again. I remember one time he gave Mariucci a hard time. He says, you know, Steve, I've walked by your office 14 times this week. And that's the third time I've seen you in there not looking at tape. I need knowledge. Now go get me some knowledge. Something like that. And it just hit a tone with me every time his door cracked. Work, man. While you're at work. Too many people are flipping through TikToks
totally
and all
agree.
over the place. You know, be there when you're there. Get to work and go to work and work.
Love it. Yep. I love it.
Not a better way to wrap up.
I
Coach,
love it.
Thank you so much, Derrick.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Play some golf.
Great to be with you
Appreciate
guys.
you.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, go out and make it a great day. Appreciate you.
All right, take care.